Good morning. My name is Curtis Douglas, the president of all Tobago Fisherfolk. I'm here this morning because the fishing community and the people of Tobago would have asked me to share our concern on what is going on in the marine environment and in the fishing industry, and also what is happening in the terms of the oil spill in Tobago. Now, on the 12th of June, which was yesterday, my fisher folk would have complained to me and show me that there were hydrocarbon, a high volume of hydrocarbon. In other words, oil or diesel, well, as we know it, is hydrocarbon that was fluctuating the fishing grounds of Tobago. Now, the Ministry of Energy and T&T Savage were entrusted with the responsibility and the onus by the government of Trinidad and Tobago to ensure that they safeguard our marine life and the fishing industry of Tobago. Before that happened, before this oil spill happened, we would have helped, which is the All Tobago Fisher Folk and the Fisher Folks, would have been the first responder to the February 7th oil spill. We were the first responders to ensure that we safeguard our marine life and our environment. And during the course of the cleanup, we were ordered to stand down, and we were ordered to remove all the oil booms. And the oil booms is that in which it does deflect or trap the oil so that it doesn't go to our fishing grounds to damage our fishing ground and our reefs. We highly recommended to T&T Savage, to TIMA, that removing those booms would have caused a great detriment to the Tobago tourism industry, to the fishing industry. No one adhered to that, and we were ordered to remove the boom. As a matter of fact, Kaizen were ordered to remove the boom with the assistance of the fisher folk. Now, on the 12th, back to the 12th, fishermen were complaining of the high level of oil spill that was saturating our local kingfish ground and barracuda ground, even though there was a 500 meters restriction that was given to the fisher folk, which we upkept and we kept. We kept our part of the bargain. And now to see that this oil spill is now threatening the fishing industry for our survival, it's a shame. And to add to injury, to add insult to the injury, when Tobago asks for the funding to help us to ensure that we maintain the oil spill, we were denied by the Honorable Minister for Finance. In other words, in local parlance, he said the information that the THA sent was not good enough, in other words. But it was good enough for Mr. Stuart Young, the Minister of Energy, to go to England with the same information to apply to ask for help from ITOF. That is okay. But for Tobago to get the right dues, they refuse. So I'm calling on the Ministry of Energy and T&T Salvage. Do not play with the future of the fisher folk and the children and the fisher industry of Tobago. You are in your approach and your intention seems to want to invite a riot in Tobago against you all. Let us let good sense prevail. We are calling on them. We ain't started to protest yet. We ain't started to carry on yet. We are using a medium. We are asking the media houses to televise this to ensure that TNT Salvage and the Ministry of Energy work with the fisher folk to ensure that the fisher folk fishing ground is not damaged, and to ensure the fisher folk do their diligence and duties to ensure we preserve our marine life. They do not know anything about fish. They do not know anything about fish. And it's sad to see, after 5 months of hard work that was done to clean up Tobago by TIMA and the THA, that they would have discarded that by their reckless behavior by that boat, that solo creed boat, that we are not responsible for. You are responsible, and we are calling on you. I don't know what they need to do, you know. If they need to talk to the Chief Secretary, or they need to talk to who they need to talk to. But the government of Trinidad and Tobago, preferably Ministry of Energy and TNT Salvage, put on all the pants and get it right. We are not going to stand for this, because this is a blatant attack on the fishing industry. A blatant, let me repeat, and let me speak to. This is a blatant attack on the fishing industry and the people of Tobago. We depend on tourism and we depend on fishing, right, for one of our main income. And we could see this is destroyed. They haven't come here, no one has even called at first and said, but thank God we have people of men fish for a living, which they say they don't want to honor. We fish for a living. Hence the reason why we are here today. We are here today. The next step would not be taken this lightly. The next step would not be taken lightly. We are not for this, and we are not going to stand by quite innocent like sheep and be slaughtered by these people that believed that they could do whatever they want in the waters of Tobago and destroy our fishing industry and not be held accountable. We are holding them accountable. Fishermen must be compensated for this reckless behavior, and fishermen must also play their part to ensure that we lay booms or use absorbent booms to get rid of that oil spill that is taking place in the waters and shores of Tobago. And if that oil spill should reach Tobago or reach the reef, I do not know what they will tell us in this fishing industry, because by then we want no sorry, and we want no, oh God, we didn't know, because we warned you all, and we would have tried to work with you all to inform you all that this would have happened. And the same thing we tried to prevent it, that happened. People, we are Tobagonians, and we are living in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And when people sit down in the office and make decisions for Tobagonian, that must come to an end. That behavior must come to an end. And with this, I will take questions.
How far is the oil? How far did you all notice the oil reaching?
That was done on the weather bite. It's something called a weather bite, and it was seen as far as like 3 miles from shore outside the airport. So if it's outside the airport, to those who don't know the geographic location of that, will push that oil right into Tobago and past Tobago and go into Pigeon Point and head to the reef and also hit Plymouth.
And what's the consistency of the oil as well?
It is a mass consistency of hydrocarbon. Mass. It even ties up the lines of the fisherman. Imagine you're pulling a line and all of it is saturated. And we were ordered to remove the temporary booms. The booms was there for a purpose. Even the Minister Penelope Beckles and they, when they came to Tobago, they advised with Miss Shanfa Kwadjo Lewis that the booms remain. TNT Savage told TIMA to have it removed because it's obstructing the operation. When the fisher folk advised due to the variation of the current and how the current flows, this would have happened. And it did happen. It did happen. So we are calling on the powers that be to sit down and have some kind of plan, because we cannot go on like this. We cannot go on like this, and money is being spent to ensure that this does not happen or spread. And my God, I tell you, if this should spread to our natural resources, which is our reef and stuff like that, Tobago will be in trouble, and this will be in trouble because of ignorance. On the behalf of the Ministry of Energy and TNT Salvage, we are not prepared to take this anymore.
Have you had any conversation with TIMA or the THA since the oil was spotted?
Well, my first response is to let the world know what is taking place, because they're supposed to inform me. They're supposed to inform me, which is the president of all Tobago Fisherfolk. Of all they're doing, we would have stayed within the 500 perimeter that they would have passed. We follow the law, but we would also advise them that that approach is not good enough.
I know that you said before that I don't know if you mentioned it before, that the 15 million that the Minister of Finance confirmed instead of 153, that it's not enough. What's your view on it?
Well, quite clearly, I don't know if the finance minister, I think he have a yacht, so he should know. I think he has a yacht, so he should know, right? When you're talking about juvenile fish, right? The juvenile fish most likely breeds close to mangroves. The oil spill would have occurred and damaged and affected the mangrove, okay? Which is a juvenile fish where they spawn and they reproduce, right? So what happens with that? Everybody knows in Sesame Street, they tell you juvenile fish feeds on weeds, and the fish and big fish feed on small fish. So what happened, in case they don't know, we go and we catch a juvenile fish for bait so that we could catch big fish. But when that is destroyed, how you expect fisher folks to live? And even in all of that, we would have told the fisher folk not to fish there because there was a ban and they were fishing elsewhere. Now we see now that the oil now is encroaching, not encroaching, it is there affecting the fishing ground. So I don't know now how many fish will be infected by that reckless behavior by TNT Salvage and the Ministry of Energy. And then we have the minister, on the other hand, is saying 50 million for Tobago. I'm pleading to the minister, the Honorable Minister, Mr. Carl Imbert, I want to make his pronunciations right, because I don't want to disrespect the Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, that figure, what you would have sent to the THA, is nearly not enough to even start compensating the fisher folk and contractors. Right? We would have lost, I would have sent a document with a study that was done by ATFA to show within 61 days, 63 days, we would have lost over $14 million. And that was calculated, Mr. Imbert, I know you're a genius. That was calculated by how many fishermen, the bait that they wasn't able to ascertain, and how many pounds of fish a day was caught. So we would have calculated that and submit that to the THA. So I don't know if that wasn't done, but if you don't want to deal with the THA, you can deal with all Tobago fisher folk. And let's have a sit down and let's work out the figures and how to build back the Tobago fishing industry. As clearly as you have seen, the fishing industry is under attack by hydrocarbon as we speak. So please, let's work together in harmony. I'm certain in our national anthem say, may every creed and race find an equal place. Together we aspire. Let's achieve together. And let me don't play politics now.
I know that the minister would have stated that because certain documentation was not provided by the assembly, that's the reason for the allocation that was made. I know the chief secretary, we questioned him on it and he denied those claims. What's your view on that?
I am certain. I can't speak for the chief secretary. I cannot speak on the behalf of the THA, but I can speak on the behalf of all Tobago fisherfolk. And I am telling you today that we would have, which is ATFA, who would have worked on the oil spill, would have sent in invoices of work that was done that we still ain't get paid yet for. And on top of that, we would have sent a breakdown of how many fisherfolk were damaged, the vendors were affected, and the earnings, and they were able to move from point A to point B, hampering their income. And they, up to now, no one have tried to meet the fisherfolk halfway. So when the sum of 50 million was allocated, I don't know if THA would have received it, right? I can't speak for that. But I know no allocation was given to all Tobago fisherfolk to treat with the fisherfolks who are loans to pay, who is back on their loans because they nearly take away the engines, and who engine would have damaged through the hydrocarbon, and who is struggling to feed their children. It's at Faros to reach some fellas, people in Lambo, for physically to give them some funding to help them with their families.
How much in terms of, how much the fisherfolk in terms of the millions need to be compensated to the tune of? I know that you would have given an amount to the chief secretary, but what is the total at this point in time?
Now, it is very difficult to give you a total because, one,
What did you submit though?
I would have submit a total of roughly over $14 million because of 61 days. No, 63 days. I apologize, 63 days. So that it is still ongoing because there still are 500 meters perimeter where we cannot go and fish. And we wasn't even given the opportunity to drop pots there so that we could be able to catch some fish, so that we could be able to do some tests to find out if the fish around that area is suitable for human consumption. We were denied that. So because we have the pots ready, we ATFA have everything ready to drop at least 4 pots, so that when we catch the fish, you could test the fish to find out, well, listen, this is contaminated or that is not contaminated. We wasn't granted the opportunity, even though we would have alluded and asked for the opportunity through the Ministry of Energy and through TEMA. We had a meeting. Normally we had meetings. TEMA, the Ministry of Energy, prepared to absorb the hydrocarbon, making it, mitigating and controlling the influx of hydrocarbon on the shores of Tobago. Well, I think you should ask the question to the Minister of Energy or to TNT Salvage or to the TNT Salvage and the Minister of Energy if this is a willful attack on the people or on the fishing industry of Tobago.
Ministry of Energy give a timetable to begin extraction of the hydrocarbon?
Yes, well, what happened? They would have stopped sending information to TEMA, right? Normally we have a meeting and they send information to TEMA. I don't know if TEMA, Mr. Alan Short, who is head of TEMA, and Mr. Lane would have been able to give you that information. But as I stand here, that information was given to me. But what I would have seen is the Minister of Energy, the Honorable Sort Young, is saying by July month end, that boat will be salvaged and be no more in the waters of Tobago, right? But what he didn't say is that he was willing to work with the fisher folk for when these things happen so that we could be able to control it. That goes to show blatant disregard and disrespect to the fishing industry and to the normal average Tobago citizen that depend on tourism to feed their families and depend on the fisher folk to put that staple on their plate. That is what we see.
Yeah, we are. No, not at this moment.
Okay, you sure?
Sure.
Sure?
Yeah. And I just want to say, Mr. Farmer and the fisher folks who are affected by this, accept my sympathy, my deepest apologies. I apologize on the behalf of ATFA for not being more astute and more firm to ensuring that these oil companies, these Ministry of Energy and TNT Salvage, right, that would have been so reckless with your future and your family future. From ATFA, we do apologize. But trust me, we are going to get to the root of it and deal with it quite severely. So my apologies to the fisher folks that are affected by this. And I will do everything in my power to ensure that you all not only be compensated, but apologies will be issued to the fishing community of Tobago. Thank you.